and we'll be coming back here after the tour. We'll have our Zero Waste Zero Waste Malaysia team to bring you to the showcase itself. It's located in front of Harvey Norman on level 2. But this showcase will be running throughout the rest of the week until Sunday. So please make sure you invite all your friends, your family, and share it with as many people as possible who you believe will be impacted positively from this showcase. It features projects from both these teachers as well as interactive elements that we would love to hear your feedback on. All right, now it's time for an engaging panel discussion on the topic for today, addressing roadblocks to sustainability education in schools. Now, before I pass the mic over to our moderator for today, please allow me to introduce him. Dennis has a passion for social impact, dedicating almost 5 years to the non-profit sector through impactful programs and strategic collaborations. Now, having worked so closely with district offices and school teachers, he's very familiar with how the education system works. He's currently a program specialist at Edvolution, where he finds sustainable and meaningful solutions for the education system. Can we all give him a warm welcome?
Hello, testing. Hi, good afternoon everyone. Salam sejahtera tuan-tuan dan puan-puan. Good to see everyone here. I mean, I cannot see that well because the light shining on my face, but it's okay. It's good to see everyone here. So welcome to the panel discussion for today. So good to see everyone. So before that, let me just invite the panelists up to this stage here, okay? Because it's so good to see everyone. First up, let me welcome the panelists for today, which is number 1, Mr. Justin Lee. Welcome up to the stage from Commute, Malaysia. Can take your seat. I'll join you all later for the seating later, okay? First, Mr. Justin Lee. Second, we got Mr. Xiong from Chumbaka. Welcome, welcome. And lastly, we have our lovely Miss Felicia Yoon from Arus Academy. Alright, thank you all so much for being here. So before I start this panel session, saya akan campur sedikit bahasa Melayu dengan bahasa English. Boleh tak? Boleh, bagusnya. Okay, sebelum saya bermula, saya nak pastikan dalam dewan ini, siapakah seorang pendidik? Boleh angkat tangan? Wow, quite a number of you are educators. Siapa bukan pendidik tapi seorang warga negara yang biasa? Angkat tangan. Okay, ramai ni juga. Okay, siapa yang sesak sedikit nak pergi ke GSC Cinema tapi datang sini pula? Boleh angkat tangan. Oh, bagusnya. Okay, so no worries. You came here on a good day because we have this panel discussion on addressing roadblocks to sustainability education in schools. And I would guarantee you, you will not miss anything from the GSC Cinema, but you will gain so much here from this discussion, all right? So, let me introduce myself again. I'm Dennis, I'm the moderator for today, and I have a group of people here with me who are very amazing people, number 1, and they are very interesting as well. So, I'll just introduce the people starting from my left, okay? So, the first one is Mr. Justin. So, Justin is the founder of Commute Malaysia, an NGO that started as a grassroots organization consisting of commuter cyclists and urbanists who are advocating for low carbon mobility by promoting safer and equitable streets across Malaysia. Wow, right? And he is a passionate advocate for safer streets to create more inclusive urban environments. He has collaborated with city councils to implement street transformations in school zones and with a focus on reducing speeds, enhancing safety for vulnerable road users, and encouraging a model shift from cars to public transportation. That is Mr. Justin, everyone. And the next one will be Miss Felicia. So Miss Felicia, you see her, this lovely lady here. She is actually an actuarial science graduate from London School of Economics, and she even holds a teaching diploma in Bahasa Malaysia. So dia pun seorang cikgu juga. She co-founded Arus Academy and possesses a decade worth of experience in the education field. She has numerous experiences in curriculum development and content creation. She even led the content development on Asas Science Computer teacher model with the Ministry of Education to equip teachers with teaching materials when the ASK curriculum was launched nationwide. And now she leads an alternative learning center in Bukit Jalanan, Chowkit, where she delivers quality education to the underprivileged stateless children in Chowkit. Right, so that's Miss Felicia. And last one we have Mr. Xiong. So fun fact, Mr. Xiong is alumnus from Teach from Malaysia. Siapa pernah dengar Teach from Malaysia? Angkat tangan. Right, so dia pun seorang cikgu juga, alright? And he co-founded Chumbaka, a social enterprise focusing on technology enrichment programs for primary and secondary students. Using open source technologies like Arduino, Python, C++, Raspberry Pi. You heard all these things, of course, it's about programming and coding. So very STEM related. And he has an engineering background, and he introduces coding and programming to students from low-performing secondary schools in an urban community with high needs. So for him, he emphasizes that true educational reform requires commitment, investment, and engagement from diverse community of stakeholders through public and private partnership. He firmly believes that transforming education necessitates more than merely addressing the deficiencies in public schooling. So these are our panelists for today, ladies and gentlemen. Amazing people, semua yang berpengalaman, semua dari industri yang berbeza, tapi datang sini untuk satu maklumat, iaitu tentang pendidikan lestari. Okay, so this is how our panel session is going to be. I will ask each and every one of them questions, okay, questions, and then after that, I will open up the floor to for more questions from the crowd, and you can even use the Slido link as well. So feel free to ask questions on Slido. Ada QR code kat sana, boleh scan dan boleh tanya soalan masing-masing. Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, adakah anda semua bersedia? Yes. Wow, so low energy. Come on, adakah anda bersedia? That's the way. Okay, so I will start off with our first panelist, which is Mr. Justin. Hi, Justin.
Hi, Dennis.
Hi. So, from our conversation with each other, you are the director of Commute Malaysia, right?
Yes.
So, I understand that your organization actually creates safer cities for the public, and it's very interesting because apabila kita cakap tentang lestarikan, kita cakap kita semula conservation of water, electricity, like all the teachers say that, right? But you know, in regards to school, right? Apa kaitan pendidikan lestarian dengan sekolah? Like for example, I know that you have sustainability for schools where you do like Jalan Raya Sekolah. It is only 30 kilometers per hour, like initiatives like that. So apa kaitan itu? What is the link for it? Yeah, link to sustainability, correct.
Okay. I guess, hi everyone, thanks Zero Waste Malaysia for inviting me to the panel. So I guess Bike Commute Malaysia is advocating for 30 kilometer an hour streets. I guess because at the moment 30 kilometer an hour streets are just advisory. So sometimes you go by, 30 kilometer an hour school streets more specifically. So sometimes you go past a school and vehicles still go fast. So it's just an advisory speed. And I guess Bike Commute Malaysia is tackling this from a road safety perspective as well. I think road safety comes first because like I guess for child fatalities, right? The number one cause of child fatalities comes from road crashes, and I guess the government recently as well is advocating for 30 kilometers in our streets. And how this links to sustainability is that we got to implement a project recently whereby we got to lower the speeds of the school through street design. So with street design, the way you design the street, you can self-enforce safer speeds, but at the same time it encourages it creates more space for other modes of transport like active mobility, walking and cycling. So, in the past, how we used to go to school is that, I don't know about you guys, but, if the school is nearby, I would walk to school or cycle to school. And I think that people from the previous generation used to do that as well. Nowadays, we see a lot of congestion at schools. Kids are more and more dependent on their parents. And with our project, we got to carve out space. While we got to achieve lower speeds, we got to carve out space and encourage first and last mile mobility and active transport.
Wow, thank you so much. It's very interesting, isn't it? If you design streets better, it can indirectly reduce pollution and encourage more mobility with bicycles and walking. That's really interesting to know. And I know that for Bike Commute Malaysia, you guys have been working with DBKL to implement, safer streets and safer schools and areas. So what was that collaborative process like with them, especially with schools?
So I guess more specifically, we only got to implement one school, and we work very closely with DBKL, and we hope to work with them more in the future with other projects. So this project is with, we are working as a local liaison with the Global Designing Cities Initiative. Bike Commute wears a few hats. So we work with DBKL. As we work with DBKL, they are after support. The street is actually like a public space, and the ownership of the street is like, everybody. If you do something to the street, there's a lot of people who would comment on it, or who would, who's affected by the street. So DBKL is after feedback from, when we work at DBKL, we want to work with the community as well to get their buy-in. So we engage the schools as well. We got to engage the school, the parents, the teachers, as well as the students to get their feedback on how to think about streets as well. Because it's not thinking about, when we look at a street, if it's dangerous, you ask them, is the street safe? But they are all like, macam biasa aja, biasa already is like, it's okay. But I guess we had a workshop with them to get them to rethink how their streets can be, not just for going around by cars, and how it can be safer. So how there's more opportunities for streets, So after this workshop, I guess these engagement sessions with them, we got their feedback, and they wanted more greenery, play elements, and to be able to cycle or walk safely. And through this through this engagement as well, we worked with ABKL, and it sort of justifies the project as well. Then I guess we have we have our design process with DBKL. Then after that, the project went through several stages, like a pop-up phase and an interim phase, and we did it in collaboration with DBKL.
Wow, thank you so much. It's very interesting to work with such a big government entity as well in regards to this, and it affects so many people's life in the process. And lastly, so this is for, I know because there's so many teachers of the day. As a teacher in school, how can I get my school involved in sustainability and environmental initiative? Kalau saya seorang pendidik, macam mana nak involvekan semua orang dalam inisiatif pelestarian?
So I guess some of the examples that we saw today was great. I have not been involved in all this aspect of work yet, and it's great to see it from waste management, addressing energy and all this kind of stuff. But I guess also it's important that we have education or syllabus or clubs also involved in, I guess, changing mindsets about how we travel. Getting kids to, I guess, sharing how we used to travel like a generation ago, and see if it's possible to bring that back, because we have done it in the past.
Correct.
Now it's just streets have been so car-centric already, and I guess the education about that, the conversation about that has to start again. I guess through this as well, like for our previous project, the voice of the school is very important on demanding or asking for, like, say, their streets to be better. So I guess the other thing that we are doing is that we are trying to synergize like 30 kilometer an hour streets to be implemented nationally.
Okay.
So as a national sort of like a rule, because as we do this one project, there's limitations. We cannot do like every school. So through national level, I guess advocacy, right? If we got to change the legislation, there's a blanket requirement for all schools to be safer because all kids deserve safer environments as a basic need around their schools. And I guess teachers, students, and parents, right? If they demand for it, it's very powerful in also, it's sort of. I guess people in government, they are like, oh yeah, there are people asking for it,
Right.
and maybe it makes sense to get it to happen as well.
Thank you so much. So as you heard from Mr. Justin, you see that, you got to show interest, you got to talk it to your own students, your own family members, your own friends. So when more people talk about it, even government entities cannot ignore it anymore. And that's where we start to see the change snowball into something bigger. So that's so good to hear. So now we're going to go with the next person, which is Miss Felicia. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So I know, Felicia, you are from Arus Academy, and you guys do so many good things in school. So for people who do not know, Arus Academy actually runs programs for not only students but also teachers as well. And for Felicia, your job is to actually develop and run engaging, experiential learning adventures with students and teachers alike. So, as someone who is a pendidik dan dulu sebelum itu seorang cikgu, how do you get your students' attention? Especially for, topics like environment, sustainability. It's very difficult, right? Isn't it? How do you get their attention?
Okay, thank you for that question. Sebelum saya mula, saya nak tumpang glamour. Saya sebenarnya alumni SMK Taman Melawati juga. So, very happy to see amazing work being done in my previous school. Tapi sebenarnya saya campur lah. Saya campur bahasa dengan English. If you want me to speak English, can let me know as well. Sebenarnya bila kita nak membuat sesuatu projek dengan anak murid, adalah sangat penting kita cuba tengok apa yang mereka minat tentang. Kadang-kala kita rasa okay, dia kena minat atau they must be interested in our earth. Mana boleh dia tak kisah pasal bumi kita. Tapi kadang-kala sebab persekitaran mereka, mungkin itu bukan masalah yang dia fikirkan. So saya bagi contoh. Sebelum ni recently saya buat satu kelas bahasa English di mana saya introduce vegetarianism dengan murid saya. Sebab saya pun tengok kat Netflix ada satu cerita Game Changer. I don't know if you've seen Game Changer, but it's a very interesting documentary sebab they bring all these bodybuilder, Arnold Schwarzenegger, orang yang besar, right? And dia tunjuk sebenarnya dia makan sayur je tau, dia dah boleh jadi kuat. So saya ingat bila saya tunjuk semua ni, murid saya akan rasa kisah tentang environment, dia mungkin nak cuba jadi vegetarian. Tapi bila saya tanya pendapat mereka, so we look at different factor lah that would make you maybe want to be a vegetarian. And surprisingly, I got to know from my student, the biggest factor that would make them try to be a vegetarian is actually do it. Sebab murid saya daripada socio-economic background yang very poor in terms of poverty lah. So dia kisah pasal bumi, tapi the biggest pendorong untuk dia kalau nak cuba ialah sebenarnya penjimatan duit. And it's okay because bila dia dah mula cuba, dia akan mula nampak perubahan dalam persekitaran kita juga. So my point is actually sangat penting kita tengok apa ialah minat murid lah. So when we did environmental project juga, salah satu project dengan the young kids is more like okay, kita cuba tengok apa yang dia minat. But older kids around Chowkit, if you don't know, Jalan Raja Boat ni sebenarnya ialah tempat bandel. Kalau kamu datang malam-malam, memang banyak kedai-kedai bandel. Dan murid saya memang minat lah sampai dia nak kerja di situ dan sebagainya. So one of our environmental project ialah kita nak kaji bidang bandel ni. Sebenarnya baju ni datang dari mana. So kita mula kaji fast fashion, dia mula nampak sebenarnya mungkin pakaian yang kita beli walaupun dia murah, mungkin tak begitu baik untuk alam sekitar kita. So di situlah dia mula ada rasa minat. So sebenarnya penting juga kita tengok apa motivasi mereka dan dari situ kita boleh hasilkan projek yang lebih berkenaan dengan mereka and more meaningful for them lah. Yeah.
Wow, that is a really good advice. Thank you so much, Felicia. So I know that you're so passionate and you see all these things happening, right? So as someone like, for example, kalau saya seorang pendidik, how do I, besides showing them the experiential like you mentioned, how do I integrate this into a syllabus? Contohnya kalau macam waktu pembelajaran atau PDPC, like how do I do that as an educator and as a teacher as well? How does this happen?
So sebenarnya when I talk to teacher, ramai cikgu sebenarnya dia ada minat nak buat semua ni. Dia pun nampak kebaikan dia, tetapi kekangan masa memang real lah, it's a very real thing. So one of the things when we do programs like this dengan cikgu, kita selalu akan nasihatkan untuk bekerjasama. So saya juga di sekolah saya sekarang yang saya buat sekolah alternatif ni, memang cikgu-cikgu rancang bersama. So walaupun saya ajar contohnya English, saya tak rancang projek sendiri. Kita akan rancang bersama, kita tengok syllabus, apa objektif yang kita kena cover, lepas tu ada tak projek yang berkenaan yang boleh menarik minat budak supaya bila dia belajar topik ni, pada masa yang sama dia boleh buat sesuatu yang berkenaan juga. Okay, so di situlah bila kita kena bukan je buat projek yang meaningful untuk murid, kita juga kena tengok balik sebab kita memang cikgu dan kita ada syllabus yang kita nak ikut. Kita kena tengok ada tak topik-topik yang sebenarnya saya boleh berkaitkan dengan apa yang sedang berlaku di dunia sebenar.
Wow, so actually making it relevant lah kepada murid-murid semua supaya mereka pun boleh faham apakah realiti di situasi sebenarnya. And I like how you get the example of, you know, people eating vegetable and they can still become abang sado. It's really interesting. So correct, right? Like I also did not know that when you eat a lot of vegetables, you can still maintain that protein and muscle mass. So thank you so much, Felicia, for sharing all these things. And maybe the last question before we move on is, what advice do you have for the educators to actually, you know, want to replicate your model of engagement? Like, for example, you know, spreading awareness, getting experiential learning. What is the advice to the teachers out here, and especially in STEM and sustainability education?
I think my advice is actually you don't have to start from nothing. You don't have to start yourself as well. Sebenarnya ada banyak bahan rujukan. Green Wira project is a very good example. Diorang dah ada lesson plan kat website mereka. So sebenarnya kalau cikgu nak mula, boleh mula di situ. Saya selalu galakkan cikgu-cikgu saya bukan start from zero. Sebab sebenarnya kalau kita nak ajar 5R pun dah ada banyak contoh di luar sana dan kita tak perlulah spend too much time untuk hasilkan bahan sendiri. Tapi kita kena sesuaikan dengan anak murid kita. Kita kena adapt so that it's more relevant to our student. But we don't have to start from nothing. At Arus Academy, we're more than welcome. We always have a bunch of project that we create. So one of the thing we realize we're working with teacher is cikgu nak buat tapi dia tak ada masa. Because when you want to do a project like this, memang kena ada masa untuk research. Kamu kena tahu apa yang sedang berlaku di luar sana, baru boleh kaitkan dengan anak murid dan bagi dia nampak apa yang sedang berlaku di bukan saja persekitaran kita tapi perkaitan dia dengan dunia di luar sana juga. So dengan ini kami pun banyak membantu cikgu dengan menyediakan pelbagai modul. So bila dah ada modul-modul seperti yang Green Wira Project ada, Arus Academy pun banyak modul. Senanglah kalau cikgu nak ambil langkah pertama untuk mulakan mengajar sustainability dalam classroom masing-masing.
Wow, thank you so much, Ms. Felicia. Really interesting. So if you guys got any more questions, you can refer back to, of course, the Zero Waste Malaysia team or even Felicia from Arus Academy. And last one, Mr. Xiong from Chumbaka. So, hi, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Hi. So, I know that for Chumbaka, you all work with a lot of private companies, right? And it's very interesting because private companies are actually one of the reasons a lot of schools get to do all these things. For example, the Green Wira program is a product of that. Like private entities actually invest in schools. So my first question is, how do you get companies interested in STEM related programs, and especially, you know, even in sustainability and environment related initiatives? How do you get private companies to be interested in investing in schools first?
Okay, cool. Thank you very much for the question. Maybe I can share from the perspective of Chumbaka. So Chumbaka runs a lot of technology enrichment program, right? That means getting kids to pick up skills like coding, programming, electronics. When we do programs like that, right, a lot of times we actually invite the private companies to come and actually see. There's a showcase that is happening. We invite them to come and actually observe and see what exactly are the students learning happening, what is the thoughts of the student, and what is the voice from the student. Maybe I can share with you one example, right? Like Young Innovators Challenge and also Junior Innovate is a competition that we run every single year for primary school and secondary school. So during the competition itself, the students actually have to look around their community and look for problems within their community, and a lot of times they will actually zoom back into the problem of sustainability. They'll zoom back into the problem of environment. Like the kids in Cebu actually found out the problem of flooding that every single year just keep on happening over and over and over again. Then they are thinking, okay, I have these technology skills. How can I make use of these tech skills to actually bring a solution to the community? The moment when a student bring up a product like that, right, a prototype like that, and then when you bring a private company in to actually take a look at it, actually the rest of the job we are done already. We have done our part. The rest of it is how the private company can actually work with the kids to actually build solutions like that. Let the voice of the children to be heard to the outside world. That's the kind of thing that we do.
Wow, exposure again.
Yeah.
Not only to the children, the students, the teachers, but also private companies. And maybe the next question I can ask, soalan seterusnya saya nak tanya, kalau saya tak ada budget, tak ada duit untuk buat semua ni, or no resources pun, how do I start? Like, what do I do as a teacher? Because I know for a lot of teachers, memang tak ada budget, right? For a lot of you teachers. So how do I start this?
Datang cari Irene, datang cari Felicia, or datang cari Justine over here. Actually, there's a lot of resources out there, right? A lot of times, I just let you guys know, there are two scenarios. Whenever we bring a program to schools, right, there are always two scenarios. Tak ada budget, tapi ada facility ataupun ada computer, or at least something that will start off with something simple first. Or even whatever also you don't have, never mind. We will build toys from trash, right? So you start from there, build. But by building, by having a program, right, by having some sort of like pilot stuff that is happening with the children, right, then only other people can see it. Then you have a proof of concept. Because a lot of times, right, I will let you know, a lot of the companies that we work with, they will not go into a school and say straight away, you say, oh, saya nak aircon, or saya nak bilik yang baru, or saya nak computer yang banyak, or saya nak 3D printer. They will not go in and straight away invest in that. They want to see what is the effort that you have put in first to prove that this teacher, if I put in a 50,000 ringgit inside this classroom, this will not only stop in first year, but it will continue on second year, third year, and continue on. So those are the kind of thinking private companies have.
Wow, they also want to look at sustainable investment as well. Bukannya saja daripada inisiatif sendiri, tapi juga dalam investment mereka. And so that means, for example, if saya seorang pendidik, saya syarikat tanya apa yang anda perlukan, I shouldn't say, oh, saya perlukan makmal baru, saya perlukan all these things, but I need to get them to invest in, the students first. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. Get them to come in, take a look at the students first, then baru you slowly ask for what you want.
Wow, thank you. Tengok ada satu strategi yang sangat menarik kat sini. Jadi ingatkan untuk jot down semua ini supaya cikgu-cikgu semua boleh gunakan dalam sekolah sendiri. And maybe before I move on to the next round, maybe one last question for you, Xiong, because it's so interesting that you got not only the school, the students, but also private companies. Macam mana dengan ibu bapa? How do we get them to support? Because we know that parents, especially ibu bapa dan semua unit keluarga penting kan. Jadi how do we get parents involved in this?
Actually, what we do is, it's also the same thing, right? Because when showcase happen at a school level, at a zone level, or at a state level, right? So these are considered competition that is STEM, right? The students have to showcase, have to present. We actually invite the parents to come in and actually observe what is happening in the school. But the major thing is that when judging happens, right, from the private companies, the parents have to stay out of the way. Right? A lot of times, right? Parents or teacher will always stand beside and help the students to answer the question.
Oh, okay.
Right? But this is how we get the parents to be involved, right? The moment is that, oh, rupa-rupanya anak saya buat benda-benda macam ni dekat sekolah, right? Oh, this is what it means by learning computer, bukan main computer, right? They always say main computer, but actually they are building games or they are building programs inside the computer itself. And it's the same thing happening in like your green projects as well, right? Same thing. Whether they go to school main dengan botol-botol ke, it's the same thing, right?
Main dengan botol-botol, that's a very cute way of saying it. But thank you so much to all of you for answering these questions, because you all have your pengalaman, you all have your pengetahuan, and it's so valuable. So for the people here, do you type in your questions to us on Slido? Right, so good. So, all right, let's see some of the questions here. So, we have the first question for Justin here, which is number 1. Justin plans to pilot an initiative to make it safer for kids to bike to school. Oh, what are the plans to pilot an initiative to make it safer for kids to bike to school? Roads now are so dangerous. Parents will drive even if the school is 1 kilometer away. This is a very valid question. Justin, over to you. Do you need some time to process this? No worries.
Yeah, it's okay. Plans to pilot an initiative to make safer kids. I guess. Yeah, I guess the roads are very dangerous now. I guess the first factor has to do with speeds, right? It's very fast. I guess bike commute has, not bike commute, but I guess, when we are advocating for safer streets, we have like a catalog of like how we can get streets to be safer, getting vehicles to slow down. So when the vehicles slow down, you feel a bit safer to cycle or safer to walk. So I guess, I don't know if you've seen our recent project or not. When we narrow the street, right? I think one way we can think about it is every school is different. Every school street is different. There are some school streets where the roads are very wide.
Yep.
Actually, in Malaysia, our roads are so wide, that's why it encourages high speed, because, it's like a racetrack. It's wide, then there's no obstacles, and you feel okay to drive fast. So what we do is, we can keep the same number of lanes, but you can narrow it, or even better, we do a lot of data collection and research as well. So if the school street, the traffic is not so high, maybe we can take one lane away, and after that, you got a safe space for people to walk and cycle to school. At the same time also, I guess part of our design is reorganizing space, right? So that it's not just car-centric, all our streets is like, it takes up so much space all for cars. But rethinking it to be more multimodal, so it's like cycling, walking, and even public transport as well. So it is possible. So once more people get on an alternate mode of transport, then after that the number of cars could decrease, something like that. But it's a chicken and egg thing. But to implement it, it requires like
more research, basically.
A lot of research, data collection, and a lot of trial and errors involved as well.
All right, thank you so much, Justin. I love your questions are coming in. So just now I saw a question for Chumbaka. So I'll ask Xiong. So Xiong, just now the question came up where, how do I convince my pentadbir to support my coding program in school? I think that's a very interesting question, very fair question to ask.
Okay, how do you convince for coding program? I think the easiest, a lot of times when we talk to a lot of teachers, a lot of times the teacher actually are holding a clubs or society, computer club lah, club reka bentuk dan cipta lah, what else, STEM club lah. That's where you can actually get started, right? There's a lot of resources. Sometimes there are teachers who say they go into a classroom, even if it is maths class, you have 10 minutes of free time, right? The students are doing nothing. You are waiting for students to switch on their computer or waiting for them to wait for their friends to come back, right? right, that 10 minutes time can actually do some coding practices. There are a lot of games online that is, sorry, I shouldn't use the word games, platforms out there that is enabling students to actually play and also learn coding at the same time within 10 minutes only. So you can do that to test out your students whether they are interested or not, right? That's where you can get started with.
Wow, thank you so much. So I'm going to go to Felicia. There's a question for you. So is there a difference between how alternative and mainstream education students embrace sustainability? Do mainstream kids have more time and motivation? This is a very interesting question.
I think it may be the other way around in some sense, because in my learning center we have a lot of freedom to choose. We do follow the syllabus because we want the students to have some sort of structure, but we are not. No one is sort of chasing our bags to like complete the syllabus, like I would say. So with that, there is more freedom for my teachers to sit together and plan the semester and plan the learning objective that we want to teach. So while we are alternative learning center, I am an educator at heart, so actually projek ialah satu, tapi it's still very important kita tengok learning objective dulu. What are the learning objective yang sebenarnya kita nak capai dengan anak murid? Dari situ baru kita tengok, okay, apakah projek yang sebenarnya saya boleh buat dengan mereka. Dan bila saya cakap projek, I'm talking about project based learning sebenarnya. So project based learning dia bukan belajar semua lepas tu buat projek di akhir, tapi sepanjang masa. Saya pernah buat satu projek di mana saya ajar integer dengan budak tapi guna tema banjir. So dia guna integer untuk sebenarnya kira sebenarnya kita boleh predict tak the next flood that will happen, dan macam mana kita nak mitigate situasi macam ni. So in some ways we have a bit more freedom, but when it comes to motivation, I think dia depends lah, sebab dalam pengalaman saya setiap anak murid dia ada motivasi lain lah. So mungkin sekolah ni okay, mungkin sekolah ni tak sangat, so dia sangat dependent juga.
Alright, thank you so much, Felicia. So do you agree that we should start these sustainability programs from home itself instead of waiting for my teacher, waiting for DBKL or maybe a government entity to start? Should I start it from my own home first?
Yeah. Is it more elaborate on that? Yeah,
you can elaborate a bit more on that from your own experience.
Yeah, we should definitely start from home first, I guess. I guess because we are working a lot on engaging governments and things like that. But starting from home is also important, I guess, from Bike Commute's perspective. I guess we're not just advocating for cycling and all that. There are some neighborhoods, that's fortunate. That probably has a train station nearby, or probably the streets are a bit safer compared to other neighborhoods. So I guess what Bike Commute is doing is we are trying to advocate for sustainable mobility, like sustainability from a transportation standpoint. Right. So we do advocate. I guess getting to know your bus network system, how the bus works, if the train station is nearby, if it's 1 kilometer away. Also, just now I saw someone comment on that. I guess if the streets are dangerous, it's very hard. Some people don't have a choice, but I mean, for other people, even in a very nice neighborhood, a lot of people actually still drive, even if they have safe streets. So I guess if we can start to think about how our urban system works, right, in terms of public transport and walking and wayfinding. That's one thing I guess we can sort of self-initiate from home.
Thank you so much, Justin. Felicia, what about you?
I think definitely working with students, we invest a lot in parents. As you know, sebenarnya walaupun murid meluangkan banyak masa di sekolah, but a lot of their habits are actually built from their environment. Yeah. So it's very important that we get parents involved. So actually at our school, we make sure that the parents come after every semester for like showcase or an exhibition where they can really, the students themselves, just like what Xiong was saying, right, they can actually show their parents what they've been learning, and they teach their parents what to do. Many of our showcase that we've done. For example, we did a community project where we teach the community how do you actually grow your own food. And the students actually, from the food that they grew, they made a pop-up restaurant that they invited their parents to come, they cook for them and so on. So from that, it will encourage the parents to actually also take action. Because when it comes to parents, if they don't see their kid doing, sometimes they already have very fixed mindset. But the moment they see a lot of people doing, they see their kids so passionate, they start to like, okay lah, maybe I also can change. So I think for schools, it's also very important that you just invite. My advice is same as the Xiong. Sebenarnya, you just invite, make sure they come, and then the rest, you would see that they will have a change of heart once they come and see what their child is able to do.
So good. And Xiong, last one.
Of course, yes. But maybe I can also elaborate a little bit, right? Is that when I see a lot of adults over here, and I see like some of you are at the parent age, right? And most of the times you want to run sort of like a sustainability education at home. The question is, when you're doing all these things at home, who is doing the thinking? Maybe that's something I want to ask you. Is the thinking happen at your desk, or is the thinking happen at student's desk or the child's desk? Because if the thinking happens only at your desk and all you are doing is like asking them, oh, just scoop this, but without explaining the why behind it, right? Then they are not able to embody and envision what is the reason for me to do this.
Wow.
Right? So thinking happens at whose desk? It's the same for teachers as well. When you bring this program back to the school, right? Are you doing this for your own self, and you are doing all the job and nobody else is doing the thinking? And who else is doing the learning and the thinking? So yeah.
Wow, thank you so much, our panelists for today. Ladies and gentlemen, aren't they great? So, of course, this is the only time that we have left. I want to thank you on behalf of Zero Waste Malaysia. Thank you so much for inviting us and inviting the panelists, because it was so great to hear them share their expertise and their opinions. And for teachers here, if you're looking for a platform to connect, do remember to go to Zero Waste Malaysia's Facebook community page. There you will find many people, semua orang yang sama minda, that wants to do environment, sustainability efforts. Don't be a stranger, be a friend today. Join their Facebook page. And untuk cikgu-cikgu semua, ingat ya, ada Green Wira program 2.0 ya. So there's an upcoming Green Wira program 2.0. So please do remember to register if you're interested. And yeah, that's all for today. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll pass it back to the organizers. So okay, yes.
All right, thank you so much, Dennis. Fantastic job, everyone. I would like to invite you to